Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A warm welcome to you. We are so glad you could join us. Thank you for allowing us into the comfort of your homes, your workspaces, and wherever it is that you may be watching us from. My name is Maureen Zawadi, and I'm very honored to be your host today for the second edition of our webinar, which we have tagged Financial Wellness Redefined, Protecting What You Have. Well, I know I speak for Zamara and for the rest of our partners on this call today in my saying this, that we are in the business of redefining financial wellness, not by pushing products, but by offering solutions. And this really is the sole purpose for our forum today. With me are renowned voices in the financial space that you may be well acquainted with. But for the purpose of gathering here, please allow me to introduce an all protocol observed. Ladies first, we have Esther Moriti. Esther Moriti is a passionate evangelist of the Zamara brand, currently serving as the head of business development. She's an insurance professional with over a decade of experience in creating bespoke insurance solutions to uniquely cater for financial needs of clients. Esther has specialized in business management with a bias in risk management and insurance. Given the times we are in, it is proper to clarify that she is a wife to only one husband and a mother of two. Her hobbies include reading and traveling. Esther is possibly the only lady I know who literally wears her hair down and still looks wonderful. Welcome, Esther. Please say hi to our audience today.
Thank you, Maureen.
Welcome, Esther. We also have Eric Gatumunjiru, sorry for that. Eric Gatumunjiru is currently the head of alternative distribution channels at Absa Life Assurance Kenya, with 10 years experience in insurance and still counting. His areas of expertise are largely lie in business development and insurance broking. Eric is a husband to one wife, specifically female, and a proud father of 3 children. In his free time, Eric loves to give fish competition and enjoys traveling. He chairs the Residence Management Company and is a board member of the Faith Ventures Christian Academy. Eric, you're most welcome. What should our audience expect today?
Thank you, Maureen, for that kind introduction. I think following up from what we had in the first edition, this is purely to cement what we discussed and learned the last time, to ensure that we cushion ourselves even as we work hard to build our wealth and to increase our investments. What are the vehicles that are available for us to ensure that there's no drain, there's no leakage of what we are working hard to keep to make on a daily basis. So wow. Looking forward to quite an engagement with our audience in protecting that which we have. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Welcome, Eric. Thank you for joining us today. Lastly but not least, we have Mr. Wahome Ngari. Wahome Ngari, we all know him as an accomplished business leader with a passion of building people and their businesses. His knowledge and expertise is founded primarily upon practices and hands-on experience acquired through the years as a successful leader in the business arena. He has committed many hours in learning from thought leaders within the wealth creation field and continues to sharpen the soul. Mr. Wahome is the CEO of Citadel Consulting Limited and a business growth specialist specializing in training, talent search, and consultancy. He is the founder of the Personal Finance Academy, an institution that empowers people with holistic money management skills. As a financial coach, he guides people to evade the rat race. I am sure Mr. Wahome will be having an opportunity to tell us more about the financial programs that are available. Mr. Wahome is also a doting father of 3 young adults, a husband to a practicing psychologist who is working in a leading children's hospital in the region. He's the chair of the Neighborhood Resident Association, which I assume is Nyumba Kumi, and also holds a number of social responsibilities. Mr. Wahome, you are most welcome. We are excited to have you and most honored. Please greet our audience.
Thank you, Sana Maureen. Thank you. Very exciting to be with the audience this morning.
very, very delighted that they are here with us. And yes, we'll have an interesting discussion in redefining our financial wellness as we actually protect what we have really worked very hard to have. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Wahome. We intend to have a very interactive session. And in that regard, allow me to indicate there's three things. Firstly, our Q&A chat platforms are open for engagement effective now. So feel free to direct your comments, your questions to us via this. We'll endeavor to answer most of your questions live, as others are being handled by our very able support team as deemed fit. Secondly, we have some really exciting prizes to be won during and after the session. So stay alert and fully participate, including taking our post-webinar survey, which will come at the very end of our session today. So who knows, it could be you, it could be your lucky day. So please stay tuned, participate fully. And thirdly and last, I would like to mention this, that we have an intention to run some polls, that is to allow us to collect feedback that is relevant and valuable for our session today. So I request you, please fully participate. And on that regard, this will be a test of obedience. We would like to launch our first poll. And maybe our team can put this up, our first poll. And we'd like to gauge our level of preparedness for financial emergencies and contingencies. So how confident and prepared are you in handling financial emergencies and contingencies? How confident and prepared are you in handling financial emergencies and contingencies? Are you prepared? Are you neutral? Are you very prepared? Are you somewhat prepared, or are you not prepared at all? We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for the ones who are participating in the poll. And now with that, I will allow Mr. Wahome to actually take us into the next session, which will basically build on what we learned last time. And I just want to request you to get your notepad and your pen ready. It's time to learn and grow. And I know we will be having a summary of the results of the poll shortly, and Mr. Wahome can take it away by responding to the same. So Mr. Wahome, please take it away. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you, Maureen, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, my audience. How delighted we are that Zamara and Absa think of us this well, that they can actually be able to put this powerful panel to actually help us to redefine our financial wellness. We honored Absa and Zamara. We're thankful for this opportunity, and I have no doubt I'm honored to be reading the discussion. So if you're in my audience, I would say, Karibu Sana, let us work this around together. We just come through some national celebration, Madaraka. This is all about liberty. This is all about self-governance. And let's see how we are independent, our self-independence in our finances and taking care of what we have. And thank you, Maureen, for the introduction. I don't need to go there. You have very, very ably introduced me. And so I am sure if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I am available on the net, and it's very easy. Just Google. There are very many Wahome Ngaris. Just look at this face, and then you can be sure you're picking the right one. I'm very passionate about personal finance, because surprisingly, when we go to school, whether you went to a class in economics or commerce or finance, you did international finance, you did corporate finance, you did the public finance, but nobody ever taught us about personal finance. And I'm very, very passionate. And I actually, like Maureen said, we help people so that they can actually have a very good relationship with their money. And that's what we do at the Academy. And when I have time to spare, I do radio shows, and I run a radio program on Radio World Mini. And this season is tax time. It's time to file our taxes. And we were just discussing how to avoid the taxman legally. And this is one of the risks that we actually need to be able to handle today, because if you don't file in your tax, in time, KRA is going to penalize you. So we need to look at this risk and see how we can be able to do it. I'm hoping for your 2020, you have your P9 certificate if you're an employee, or your W44 if you're on commission. and you have actually asked your tax person to file this before the 30th of June. But if you want to know how you can lessen your burden, how you can pay less tax, I think this is a place I want to invite you. You can go to our YouTube channel, the Personal Finance Academy Kenya, and you're going to hear more about this, because this is how you protect what you own, not paying everything to the taxman, and making sure you're in good books with the taxman. And I've spoken on a lot of other financial issues in our mainstream media. And so if you go to the YouTube channel, Personal Finance Academy, you will always get something that is exciting for you. And with that, I think now we can say, Karibu, let's have a discussion. We all on this journey, a life journey. And in this journey, we have a lot of financial issues that we'll be facing at different ages, from when we were young to when we really gone on the other side. And so as we handle this journey, I know we work hard, we make money, we do a lot of investments, and we want to see what are these things that we actually need to think about and take care. Because I know you can see where you are, and you can actually see the days ahead. And I know in the course of this journey, you have actually put together a lot of things. So when you're saying protect what we have, protect what we own, I'm looking at the personal use assets that we have acquired over time, or that are part of our shopping list. And we might be having assets like the car you have bought, like the the Eurasia motorcycle, your mountain bike, or all these things. And we obviously know there can be challenges because of this. The car is a good, very, very good friend of yours, but we're going to see how can the car put you in trouble, and how do you stay away from the trouble. Knowing that it can be stolen, maybe it can actually be banned, it can hurt other people. Even your bike can do that, your motorcycle can do that, saying it costs you a lot of money to put these personal use assets together. But how do we protect them? You put together a home, either you are renting or you own a home, and you have a lot of items in your house. You have bought in items of furniture. We have electronics, your TV, your mobile phone, and all those things. We have a lot of stuff in the kitchen. There's a lot of stuff in your clothing, including your mini shoes and your jewelry. We actually have a lot of things, your curtains, your beddings, all these things, including the house. And we know they are susceptible to risks: fires, flooding, theft, destruction. And really, if that is done, then it pulls us down to the very place where we started. So we are asking ourselves, how can we preserve them? How can we protect them? And I know we've gone ahead. We've even set up a business because we want to have another income stream. And we are seeing the challenges of life, that yes, we set up good business, excuse me, but a fire can come and raise the business down. Flood can happen and the business is flattened. The bad boys can come and clean up the whole business. The president can actually do a proclamation like we have seen because of the pandemic, and the business is simply closed. And this was the source of income, where your money was coming from, either the primary source or the secondary source. And if it's not working, then obviously we'll be short of income. So we are asking ourselves, how can we protect what we own? I know you're doing well. You've actually even invested in properties. It could be these properties. You might have a name that says you own a couple of plots here and there, and you got all these things. And we know they are still susceptible sometimes to challenges beyond us. We've been watching the news, and actually we all know what has happened in Israel and Gaza. And buildings like this have been threatened, yet they were owned by people. What happens? How can we protect ourselves from something like that? We just, from the news, been hearing about this mountain near Goma in DRC. And all of a sudden, it just decides to pour molten lava and cover the whole town. And all these investments have been challenged. So we're going to see, how do we protect this we have? You have invested in yourself. You have created serious intellectual capital. And this is what you use to earn a living. You have built knowledge. You have actually quite a number of certificates. you have your diploma, your bachelor's, you found it necessary to earn a master's degree, you've actually earned or planning to earn a PhD because you want to build your capacity so that you're able to earn more. You've actually turned and you have professional knowledge. You even did a CPA and you found it's not even enough. You've done a CPS. You actually a chartered insurer and you found that's not enough. You work to become a chartered marketer. So you have many more. You are certified accountant and you've seen that's not even enough. Now you worked out to be a certified secretary. So you're building a lot of your intellectual capital, academic, professional, working knowledge. You have a lot of skills and you have invested in all these skills. You have built substantial skills. You can sell, you can negotiate, you can actually handle people, you can drive, you can play the piano, you can play soccer. You have all these skills. And you even worked around your motivation issues. You worked around your emotional intelligence so that you have the ability to deal with people, to deal with issues, to deal with your stress, to deal with your anger. You even a team player and you build your network. The whole of this intellectual capital is to help us to make more money. But we know there are challenges that can actually stop us from making the money. There are accidents out there in the way. Retrenchment can happen, jobless can happen. Old age will come and the body will be frail and we cannot be able to do the things that we need to do. So you can see there's a lot of, we've done a lot of effort, we own a lot, but there's actually quite a bit of risk around that area. And you're not alone in this life. You've actually convinced somebody in a box. And as a result, there are many of you. And now this comes with responsibilities. The little ones need to go to school. They need a home to live in. You need to have other income. You need to take them on holiday. And there are all these things, shopping, clothing, all those things. You know, the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs at the base, at the middle, at the very, very top. And this is reliant on the income. Your own income, your income from the investments. And we know now that we have the responsibility, we need them to have the education, whether you as a breadwinner are there or not there. They actually need to have their dreams realized, whether you are there or not there. And when you age, you may not be able to provide for them, but we can assure you, they are not a good pension plan. They will go their own way and leave you alone. So when you look at all those things, then we can see there is simply a lot of risks that need to be managed to protect what we own. We love these people. We not want to leave them in want. We not want to fail to provide for them. And because of all of that, that's why we do all the things that we're doing. That's why we are acquiring what we have just to make it better and easier for them as for us. So that's why we want to look at—
Mr. Wahome?
Yes, please. Yes,
thank you. Sorry for that. Please allow us to also just share with our audience what we have found out with regards to how confident they are with preparing for financial emergencies and contingencies. And we can see from our results that most people are somewhat prepared. What can you say about this even as you proceed?
I think this is good that some people, honestly, 18% are saying, I am not prepared. I've actually been able to highlight all the things that you've done. Okay, some people are somewhat prepared. I'm worried about the neutral people. This is personal. You cannot be neutral. Either you're doing it or not doing it. I'm very happy for the 15% who feel prepared and the 1% who feel very, very well prepared. I am sure in our mind, we can do that poll after this discussion. Sure. And after we do the poll, after this discussion in our mind, we might find it necessary to talk to our experts from Zamara and Absa Life, because I'll tell you, they are experts in helping you to handle your emergencies and your contingencies. So thank you, Maureen, for actually provoking our thinking. I think now we're in a position to actually share the thoughts on how do we protect what we own. Thank you very much for that. When we are thinking about, I want to just throw some thoughts here as we are looking at this. And I actually want to own up and say there are many issues that are way beyond my own level as a person. I cannot protect myself from this. And that's why we're looking at international issues, international wars, international terrorism. And if you think about it, The people we have given authority to do leadership, we have also given them what we call the legal force. They have the monopoly of force. And this is what we call the state force. So at the international level, we got very many bodies, the United Nations, the African Union, the UN Security Council, the East Africa Council, just to deal with disputes between the countries. When Israel has a serious problem with Gaza, which can destroy people's lifestyles, the UN steps in and causes a bit of peace there. When there are issues in countries, somebody steps in. But at the national level, we all have the agreement, the awareness that a neighbor can actually attack another neighboring country. And as a result of that, people's lives will be very, very disrupted. And that's why at the Kenyan space, we have KDF, very well-trained people, very well-equipped people, very expensive to run, but we need them. And we have learned this lesson sometimes the hard way. When Al-Shabaab attacked Lamu a couple of years back, tourism in the whole of the coast just dried up overnight. And that's why our soldiers had to go all the way deep into Somalia to create a buffer so that then Al-Shabaab doesn't give us a lot of headache. We've seen the trouble in Nairobi when they attack us. We've seen the trouble in the northern part of this country. I mean, we know with a lot of sadness how we lost a whole 147 young souls at Garissa University College a couple of years back. And that's very, very disruptive of the economy. That's very disruptive for people's lifestyles. And that is why we dedicate those resources. So what we cannot do as a personal level, we leave it to the government, and that's why we pay our taxes so they can do that for us. Now, internally in the country, we have a very well-trained police service so that then they can create law and order so that people can just walk into your house and take away your goods. People cannot just stop you on the road and take away your car. That's the purpose of this team. And I'm sure wherever you are, you know their role and how they come in handy to protect us. But maybe in the estate where you live, and we train a lot of these people, in the estate where you live, you've even hired guards, or even at the workplace, where the police cannot come in, then you have somebody else to look at now as the cars drive in, who comes in, you register when you enter a building. So again, this is all a question of using force to protect what we own. And you know, you can actually hire a butler, as a bodyguard, a security guy to take care of you. And so at that level, you can actually use legal force. You can actually own a gun yourself. You can be a gun owner. So that's allowed. You can have legal force, which you can actually use for that purpose. And that's the way society runs. And that sort of takes care of those risks way beyond where I am, where you are. And let's see what has happened over the years. Is this a new concept, or is this something that has been there? Now, communities, from the national legal force, communities learn how to protect themselves. So we have protection levels. I find it interesting when they tell us our forefathers lived in the cave. I don't know that your fathers lived in the cave, but I want to imagine we must be part of that Sijanthropus origin or something like that. And to stay safe, these guys looked for a cave where they can be free from the elements, the rain, the wind, the sun, the later fire. And when they slept at night, they actually ensured there's a huge fire at the entrance so that there cannot be interference out there. And you can see they even knew armament, and they could actually stay together. You can see the children are bundling along the mothers, even as the young soldiers are trying to protect them. And when we left the cave, we actually went into a village. And there are still people in villages. We build our huts together. We can even have a perimeter fence around the village so that we protect each other. And this is when people left the village, they actually went into cities. And if you think about the older general civilizations, you know, when you think about Jericho, you think about Jerusalem, you think about Rome. In fact, if you go to Jerusalem today, the walls are still intact. If you go to Rome, part of the walls are still there. If you think about the Chinese, these guys we see everywhere we go, they built this fantastic wall to protect themselves. 2,400 kilometers of wall. Mombasa, Busia, Busia, Mombasa, Mombasa, Busia, Busia, Mombasa, twice. That's how huge. You can think about how much resources they invested in this big, big edifice. And if you visited it, you know how huge it is. And that's all a question of community protection. Now, if you had the opportunity to be in the city of London and you use the underground train, the tube, now what most people don't know is that these were bomb shelters during the Second World War. That's how they were sheltering themselves, because the Germans could actually rain bombs in the UK, and they found a place to hide. And this concept is still valid today. When Israel had issues with the Palestinians just a couple of weeks, a lot of people in Israel had to look for their way into the bomb shelters. And that is what the community does to protect itself. And this is why now for you and me, we love being in the gated community. Again, being together, protecting each other. And that's the way life is. We can put some barbed wire just to protect ourselves. We can put security cameras. We can actually even have umbwakali, and we can do a lot of very, very strong background proofing. All this is an effort to protect what we have. And you can see how elaborate we are, because we do not want, and this is whether we, from the caveman to the villages, from the city walls now to the gated communities, because everybody wants to minimize the chances of sliding into abject poverty. And if you think about at the international level, countries like Syria, we've seen what has happened. If you think about Gaza, we've seen what has happened. If you're thinking about at the personal level, you are looking at what is this can actually get me to slide into abject poverty. It is all those forces that can stop us from making more money. Could be retrenchment, could be sickness, could be accident, could even be death. Those are forces that stop us from making any more money. Now, we're also looking at risks that can actually consume everything we have. A fire can sweep out everything. The thieves can actually come and pick out everything. A medical bill can cause us to sell everything we have. So those are the risks we are looking at. And we're also looking at maybe what we have falling in the wrong hands. And this is a possibility. People can steal your phone, can steal your laptop. People can actually steal your property if you don't know where the title is. People can steal your car. You know, at the point when somebody has left the world, other people come and claim an inheritance even when they are not legit. So that's why we want to say, how can we protect ourselves at the personal level? And if you're thinking about protecting yourself at the personal level, we are doing simple risk management concepts. We're actually going to identify what are the risks. We are going to assess the risks. We're going to see how the risks are. We're going to look at mitigation factors, how we can mitigate, and how we are going to monitor. And one of the most effective ways of managing risks at the personal level is risk avoidance, abstaining, staying away. If you think it's very risky to drive at night on the Kenyan roads, then you don't drive at night. If you think it is very risky to drive when you're drunk, then you simply avoid it. So you do risk avoidance. You don't walk on a dark path. You invite the crooks to attack you. So when you're looking at any risk, that's one component we can be able to look at, risk avoidance. But it is not practical to avoid all the risks. And that is where sometimes we have to do what is called risk reduction. Minimize the possibility of the risk happening, pre-loss minimization. That's why you do the background proofing, so that even if these guys come, they cannot actually find their way in. It is good to take them time. That's why you have a panic button. This is why you actually do exercise, so that you reduce the possibility of getting sick. And so we are looking, this is why you save for old age, because you want to protect yourself from the dangers of aging without any source of revenue. And you're looking at post-loss control. If it happens, you want to minimize the damage. And that's why you have a fire extinguisher. If the fire starts, you can dose it and stop it before it is spread. And if you think the risk cannot be handled, then the other ultimate way of handling risk is risk transfer. You get the risk, you actually transfer it to somebody else to handle it for you. And that is what insurance is all about, is a risk transfer mechanism. So let's take a breather and think about the risks we are going to handle at the personal level. And the first risk I want us to handle is a risk about debt. And Maureen, maybe you want to have a small poll, because we want to see how do we deal with debt. I'm sure you can craft a small poll and we can see where we are on debt. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Zamara, maybe you can put up the poll on debt. And we are asking, how much impact do you think debt will have on your ability to meet your financial goals? Possibly you're already in debt or you plan to get a loan or something. How much impact do you think debt will have on your ability to meet your financial goals? And we're saying, how is it significant impact? Is it moderate impact or no impact at all? I'm sure the results are coming in. We will allow our viewers to just tell us what impact they think it will have, that will have. Is it significant impact, moderate impact, or no impact at all? I think Zamara admin, once you're ready to put up the results, maybe in a minute or two.
Okay, as we await, or the results are
Actually
already here.
Yeah, we have 68% are saying significant impact. That's big. And 3% say no impact at all. Those are really safe people. Maybe you can tell us what this really means, Mr. Ahome.
Okay, I think I like where we are. It can see, yes, when we're talking about debts, very, very simply, we are saying we are talking about other people's money. We have other people's money, or they have their items of value. Now, when you have other people's money, then obviously you have to pay the price of money, and the price of money is normally called interest. So if you're looking at interest, now when we look at debt, we have to see debt two-way. And I want to assure you this morning that debt is not bad, that debt is not evil, that debt is not about slavery. There are people who fear debt. You only need to see to debt two-way. There is good debt and there is bad debt. Good debt is always good. Bad debt is always bad. Let me start with the good debt. Now, good debt is anytime you get other people's money, and wherever you put it, it is going to be in an appreciating asset, or you're going to be increasing value for your potential to make more money tomorrow. So let's see, when we get the debt and we put it in an appreciating asset. So you have gotten debt and you've actually bought a property. You have bought a plot. They are likely to appreciate over time. When you get debt and you're actually in a business and the business is functional and you're expanding it, you're creating the potential to earn more income. So you have one Uber car and you've actually taken a debt and you bought a second one. You've made it possible for you to earn more money. When you're actually thinking about debt and you take debt and you actually go to school because you realize you need a master's degree and you pay for the master's degree, that is a good debt because it is likely to make it possible for you to get a promotion and to get a better job and to actually prepare yourself for things to come. When you actually take debt and you buy a personal car because you need a personal car to do your business, you need to move more faster, you need to move in different places quite easily, and public transport doesn't work, that's always considered good debt. And good debt is something you need to have all the time. It's something that you need to have all the time because that is how you procure your tomorrow today. You'll be ahead of time. It is going to help you to accomplish the goals that you have. The home ownership that you're thinking about, the investment property that you're thinking about, you are better off paying. And when you are actually, the appreciation is happening, you're paying back the debt. But on the other side, we have bad debt. And bad debt, if every time, so good debt is called investment debt generally. Bad debt is called consumer debt. Bad debt is anytime you borrow money, wherever you put it, it is not appreciating and it is not creating any future potential. So it is essentially a consumption debt. When you actually take a debt and you actually buy something so that people can see you have it, that is for sure. You're showing off. That is bad debt. When you actually take debt and you pay your bills, yes, you take your girlfriend out to Kempinski or your boyfriend out to a nice place and you actually pay, on Fuliza or you pay on any other of those platforms. That's a bad debt that's going to hurt you and hurt you a lot. So when you're thinking about that bad debt, they are solidly available than the good debt, because this is where your micro lender is. All the guys you know, Tala, Fuliza, Brian, and I can name them for a night over and have nothing against their businesses. They're in good business. But you must understand the traps that are laid for you that push us into that bad debt. And it's very easy to find ourselves in bad debt. Paying bills. You know, we borrow from the SACCO and we pay school fees for the children. We borrow from the SACCO and we actually go and buy a fridge. We are buying what is called a dead asset. It is not going to generate any revenue, just going to sit there, and at any rate, you had another fridge. So those are the things we are going to use savings to do instead of using debt. But this bad debt is solidly available. But what happens around it is that there's a lot of temptation. You know, you get a message on your phone and they actually tell you you have qualified for a debt of 20,000. All you need to do is star number hash and you get the money. And it's going to be with you in the next 6 hours. So they make it fast. And even if you don't have an account, we are going to lend it to you. Woe unto you if you fall into that trap, because you're not going to get out. Even when you borrow it, they are likely to tell you something called top up. That's a debt. They're going to tell you about this interest that is 1%, and they don't qualify it. They don't qualify it. That 1% per day, if you think about it over a whole period of year, if you don't pay for 1 year, you will actually be paying an interest in excess of 300%. And I want to challenge you, my good listener, this morning. Central Bank has done a very good job. I want you to go to their website and you look for a calculator. It is called cost of credit. And you actually put in all those percentages that you're given per day or per week. And you'll be surprised that on some of these platforms, we're paying interest rates of 100% per annum. We are paying interest of 670% per annum. If you think about that, that is debt that's going to drive you into the debtor's den, that's going to drive you into a lot of challenges. That is the debt that will actually get you to actually be on CRB. And getting on CRB has its own very many consequences. Number one, you will not be able to borrow now from any formal lender who can give you the nice loan you're looking to buy the car, the nice loan you're looking to buy the house, the mortgage, the nice loan you're looking for business. They will not lend you when you're on CRB listing. There are 14 million Kenyans on that list. You will actually not get a decent job with one of the big organizations because they'll ask for a credit report. And if you don't have the credit report, there you are. That's going to be a big, big challenge. And this bad debt largely is what my Bible calls the poverty tax. What says that those who have little, that little will be taken away. Because these guys are not lending you 2 million, 5 million to do a major thing. They're actually lending you just 50 shillings to buy airtime. They are lending you 1,000 shillings to pay the bill at the pub. That's what they are lending you. But they are charging you how much? They are actually charging you 100% per annum. They're charging you 300% per annum. While the rich guy who goes to the bank, if they charge him maximum, it is 15%. So you are paying the poverty tax. And this is what we glorify in marketing. We call it the base of the pyramid. Those who have little, that little have to be taken away. And bad debt is one mechanism. How many people are ruined by bad debt? And how many people have been built by good debt? Just ask yourself, where do I want to fall? Am I going to be on the good debt side? Am I going to be on the bad debt side? As you're managing that risk, can I urge, please stop borrowing your own money. You saved $500,000 in the SACCO. You come in, you borrow 60,000, you pay school fees. You come and borrow 100,000, you go for a trip. You come and borrow another 50,000 shillings and you buy a fridge. You are borrowing your own money. You're paying interest into others. Build social capital, as we're going to talk about very shortly, so that instead of borrowing from those expensive places, you have a group of buddies, you have friends who can lend each other on short notice. And we're going to fall in bad debt if you don't plan well, if we live beyond our means, or if you have emergencies. And so this is a big topic. We cannot do justice all today, But I think now you have a grasp of where you are. Set yourself what we call a budget repayment limit. And admittedly, we always say don't spend more than 35% of your income servicing debts. And if you can, get out of bad debts. That is what is called debt-free living. Get out of bad debt. Look for your life in good debt, and you're going to be able to progress. But the thing that puts us into debt most of the time is contingencies, is emergencies. Financial emergencies, things that come when we don't expect them. You drove your car nicely last night and you parked it. In the morning, you can't simply wake up because the battery is down and you have this serious appointment you need to go for, and you need to buy a battery and buy it quickly. Alternatively, you're going to use a Uber today and buy the battery. Sometimes you can't use a Uber. You've been driving your car to town, and all over in the middle of the street, the car is just stuck and it can't move. So either we're going to tow it or we're going to look for a mechanic. We need money now. Sometimes, you know, somebody just gets unwell and is your office now. And so within a few other hours, you need to buy the phone. Now, if you do not have money to do that, it is obvious you will have to take the expensive consumer debt. It is obvious you will find yourself going to the sheriff. You will actually find yourself going to all these places. So how do we deal with all these contingencies? Because the other big contingency that we deal with is actually not having a job and job running away. We are going to shortly see what is it we are going to do to deal with those contingencies. So I think now we are very clear what is it that the contingencies are and how we can be able to deal with them. Now, our health is our wealth. And so obviously we know when we are not well, one, we cannot work. Two, it's going to cost us money. It's going to cost a lot of money. And that's a personal risk that we need to manage. And we'll talk about it in a bit more detail in a short while. Now, accidents are a possibility. They happen all the time. And you do not have to be the guilty party to be in an accident. It can be another careless person. But when we get into an accident, we will not be able to make the money. We will have a lot of medical expenses to think about. So that is something that we need to talk about. We'll talk about that at length. The properties that we have, our houses, our contents in the house, our businesses, there's a lot of perils. We talk about fire. We talked about flooding. We talked about theft. We talked about all those things, including acts of God, like I talked about the mountain in Goma. Okay, we talked about terrorism, and we are going to look at how do we deal with all those perils and how can we manage them. Unfortunately, we all come with a sticker, an expiry date, and that is a sure stopper of income. And we might have people depending on us. We will have interment expenses to think about, and we will have actually estate distribution to think about. And that's going to cost money. We'll talk about that in a short while. Old age. Old age. If you actually gifted and you live, and we all want to live long, we know when old age comes, it comes with its own issues. One of the biggest issues is the inability as yourself as a person, no matter how much intellectual capital you build, to generate the money yourself. That's part of the old age. Old age tends to come with a lot of diseases, old age issues that come, you know, vision, hearing, high blood pressure, all those things that we have to look at that come with old age. And now, old age comes out with a lot of societal expectations. And one of the expectations society has is that you have a mechanism to deal with your finances, to pay for your cost of living, your food, your clothing, and all that. And that is why old age financing is a risk if you do not have it. If you get to the end of this time and you don't have a home to live in, you do not have money to pay for your health care, then it's going to be a big problem because you're likely to be a dependent on your children or the community, and you lose your dignity, you will not be aging gracefully. And if you want to retire in dignity, then it requires then that we have to build the finances to get there. whether we are thinking about a pension fund where we are. Because if you don't do that, the government is actually working very hard. When you turn 70 in this country, government gives you 2,000 shillings per month from the chief's office. It's up to you to decide what to do with it. And that is not enough. And I know you pay to NSSF, and you pay, I think, 400 shillings per month. And ideally, you take a lunch of 500 shillings per day. So evidently, 400 shillings saved per month is not adequate. And that's why for old age, people like Zamara and Absa Life will help you to think about having a personal pension or an employer pension that can actually be able to help you out that. Or actually how you can come and buy an annuity, how you can buy an annuity with the finances. They will help you to think about the investments and the businesses that you can actually save and start doing, so that then you can have business that is you're independent of you that can generate money. You can build some rental properties and finance old age. This is a risk to manage when you're young. In the village where I come from, they easily say the old eats the young. So your old age will be financed by what you do in the young age. And that's why you need to have a financial expert to help you work out your retirement goal. How old are you now? At what age do you want to retire? And retire is not 55 or 50. Cut that out. Retirement is when the body is not able to work. 65, 70, 75. You can't work simply, even if you have the skill. So how far is that from today? That is the duration we have for preparation. How much money will you need then? Very easy. How much money are you using today? Just when you retire today, you will need 75% of the income that you're using today. So what you do, because you're not retiring today, you go to an expert. They can help you now project outward to how much then you'll be needing then. That's a goal. And then we can start thinking, where will the money come from? That's the risk we are talking about managing. Of course, there are personal records that you have to think about, very, very important. You have a lot of very, very important documents that you need to think about. At the place of work, at the circle, everywhere, you've got a lot of benefits. Who have you nominated to receive these business benefits if you are not there? Have you nominated somebody? And Absa Life and Zamara can help you with that exercise. If you nominated somebody, which happens all the time, you got your job when you're young, you nominated your father or your mother, and time has passed on, they may not be there. But while you're working in that company, you looked at the other person, you smiled at each other. One of these days, you stole a keys, and done. You became an item, you're together. But you never change the records. Now, if something happens and HR has to come and pay, or the pension people has to pay, they'll look for the papers. The papers are not there. The records were not changed. They will actually ask you to go for estate administration. That process will take you about 3 years to solve. In the meanwhile, we need to pay school fees for the children. We need to pay house rent. Now, that cannot wait for 3 years. That is why we need to be able to work on these records now. Keep your records somewhere well. That's why the bank has a safe box. Because if you lost your fourth form certificate, surprisingly, the National Examination Council doesn't give you another one. Every time you need it, they will have to write a letter. They will charge you 2,500 shillings for writing that letter. It's a whole big topic. We cannot cover it now, but you have an idea. In this life, we will always face personal liabilities. They will come from very many sides. You're driving nicely to Nakuru, you have a date and you're in a hurry, and the guy down at Naivasha just flags you down, tells you you're overspeeding, takes you to court, and the magistrate rules that you actually have to pay a fine. If you don't have the cash, the destination is called prison. Serious consequences. And I'm not sure what you're going to tell your employer, or you're likely to lose the job. Those are called personal liabilities. And there are many others that we can actually be able to look at as personal liabilities. If you are called upon to actually pay for your personal liabilities, what is the mechanism at hand to do that? So these are the risks, and there are many others. We cannot be able to look at all of them today. So why don't we look in detail at a couple of these? And the first one I want to start is, we have said our health is our wealth. And I think there's no doubt about this. Very, very, very important. When we are not well, we cannot be able to work. If you have a good employer, they will actually pay you maybe 3 months full pay. After that, they will retire you on medical grounds. And sometimes, you know, the sickness is long-term. Sometimes this sickness comes in old age. And that's why you might want to talk to Zamara and Absa Life to know, is there insurance for old age? And if there's no insurance for old age, then you start preparing your investments to take care of that. But we can actually be able to do some risk mitigation. And one of the things we need to look at is our lifestyle. What are we eating? What are we smoking? What are we drinking? If you're only eating processed food all the time, we will obviously be suffering from lifestyle diseases like obesity. And that is going to impact our health and peril our health. The doctor has ordered that you actually drink 8 glasses of water. Are you drinking it? Your body needs it. Your brain needs to be hydrated. Your skin needs to be hydrated. Your kidney wants to wash out all the toxins. And if that is not done, that is going to prompt diseases. Some of them terminal, like kidney failure, which will require transplant or dialysis. That's very expensive. So think about this. You might need to see a dietitian as part of managing your risk here, so that they can actually prescribe the diet that's good for your lifestyle and for your body shape. Exercise, very, very good thing. I know a lot of people are beaten the rain. They have a car at home, they drive in the garage, they drive to a basement parking, and they park, and they take the lift to the office. No walking, nothing. And that's not good. And I've seen in this market, as you have seen, people take a lift from ground floor to mezzanine. That's not good for the body. We need to exercise, walk, jog, skip the rope, dance, whatever it is, 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day. What is exercise? When the heart is pounding, at the same time, the lungs are asking for air, at the same time, you have beads of sweat on the forehead. Those 3 things simultaneously is what qualifies to be exercise. Are you exercising? This is how we are going to keep some diseases away. That's a risk management system. Since we started washing hands, we don't get a lot of these big issues we had with our tummies and stuff. This is what we are looking at. And because we do not know, we want to preempt. Medical checkup is a good thing for preempting. And your medical scheme actually might have this provision. You can talk to Zamara, they'll tell you how it works. And it's a very, very good facility that once a year, preferably on your birthday. You know, on your birthday, your friends are gracious. They actually buy you a cake. They buy you chocolate. All the sugars your body doesn't need. Maybe the gift you give yourself is to do a full body medical checkup. Blood pressure, your blood sugar, cholesterol levels, your BMI. All these precancer things for all the ladies here, breast checkup, very, very important. We need to do the cervical test. For all the men, the prostate, okay? And there are a couple of others that we need to look at, because some of the diseases, if they are caught up early, they'll be treated before they progress to become dread diseases. So we need to do a medical checkup. But we need to know Medicare is very expensive. So we need to think about medical insurance for ourselves and those we love. If you have a medical scheme for your employer, well done. But you need to check 2 things. What is not covered? Is cesarean section covered? Is optical covered? Is dental covered? Because if they are not covered, you will have to look for a way of providing for that. Is the amount of inpatient care adequate? Or do you want to go to Zamara and tell them, I want to pay a little extra so that you can upgrade my scheme? Very, very important for yourself. And as you're looking at your medical insurance, remember the others who depend on you. Your child was covered on the scheme until they turn 21, and they are not now covered. Or if they stayed in full-time education until they are 25 and they are not covered. Surely if they got unwell, that's your business. You might be having parents who depend on you. The very first thing as your risk management, please put them on NHIS. And then you can come to Zamara and you can actually ask them, what else can I be able to buy for these people? Because bills can actually get us to sell everything, all the property we have. They can consume everything. And new people know long-term sicknesses and the challenges they pose to people. That's health, and I know it's a longer topic. We can discuss it longer. Contingency, I talked about financial emergencies, and I get amazed when I go and stand at a viewpoint, and I know you've been to a viewpoint. I'll talk about the one in Rimuru, not too far. And when you stand on that viewpoint, you can see the beauty of land. You know, the Longonot, the Earth Station, the Mau Hills, the Rift Valley, Lake Nakuru, very beautiful. But you'll always notice one thing. Nobody has a permanent home on the cliff because it is very dangerous to live permanently on the cliff. If it was an earth tremor, If it was raining and you slide a bit, you fall. But in financial terms, there are just that many people who live on the financial cliff, and we do not actually realize we are on the cliff. You might be living paycheck to paycheck. You're living on the last paycheck. And past that is nothing else. And the president can make a proclamation that can actually get us jobless. Or the fire can actually make us jobless. Or theft can make it jobless. Or the company can do retrenchment. That's living on the edge of the cliff. Sometimes we live on the next paycheck. When nipatie sasa nitakulipa baadaye. That's living on the next one because you're spending it before it comes. We are looking at living without any savings anywhere to handle our financial emergencies. The car that's stalled in the middle of the road. The relative who got sick in the middle of the night and they need urgent medical attention. When the phone was stolen, when we lost our job, this is living on the edge of the cliff. Or when you have debts and the only solution is take another debt, you're borrowing from Tala to pay Fuliza. That's the edge of the cliff. Falling over on the other side is very, very simple. And so we want to look for a way out. And so we want to look at how do we fund our financial emergencies. We'll create an emergency fund, a contingency fund, or an opportunity fund, whatever you call it. And we are looking at money that can actually pay all your expenses for up to 3 months. If you lost your job for 3 months, you will have money that can actually pay for everything. And nobody will leave a notice, not even the guy in the chama, not even in the investment club, not insurance policy, not the school, everybody. This is what we are looking for. And if you actually go to Zamara, I have no doubt they are going to introduce you to the money market fund. So a small portion of this money, you keep it in the bank with an ATM card because you might need the money at midnight when Zamara is closed. But the other money for the other months, just give it to them. They'll put it for you in a money market fund, and you'll be surprised that you can actually be able to get out of this precarious position. I know I'm inviting you to eat an elephant for lunch. And that doesn't look easy because you're saying, I'm already so committed. How do I do this? I'll give you 2 tips. Tip number 1, and make it your mentor. Have the mentor framework of it is possible. Tip number 1, just go home and see all the things you don't use. The shoes you've not worn on for all this long time. The things you have, the coat that you have in the house and your youngest child is 8 years. Look for a way of selling all those things. Put money in this place. If you get a windfall this year, put the money there. Start taking your elephant down a piece at a time. Save the little you can. The mantra is very simple. Think big. 6 months worth of living expenses. Start small. What can you afford now? Even 2,000, 1,000, 5,000. But start now. And that will be done. And you'll be surprised that that risk is taken away. This whole thing of falling into bad debt is going to go. This whole thing of getting frightened by your boss that you can be fired and you kneel will all go. You'll have the confidence. You can survive for 3 months as you're looking for a way out. Very important. But as we do that, we know. You don't have to be the bad guy. But accidents are possible. The boda guy, the matatu guy, all these guys, you can actually sleep in your bathroom and injure yourself. And when that happens, costs are involved. The X-ray, the cast, the walking aid, all these costs are major. And you know, loss of income. The law is very clear. If you are injured and you're not able to continue with your work, your employer is only obligated to pay you for 1 month. Then they retire you. But most employers are kind. They keep you for 3 months on full pay, 3 months on half pay, and that's it. If you're in self-employment, you understand what I'm saying, loss of income. And that is why it becomes necessary to do some risk management. Look at how you can minimize the risk. If you actually ride on a boda once in a while, please make sure you use the helmet, please. And if you think the one they have is dirty, buy your own. Or if you don't want to buy one, but just buy a turban, put it between your hair. Because the cost of repairing the skull and the cost of cleaning your hair are not related all at all. But I want to suggest to you to talk to Absa Life and Zamara. They will tell you why you need a personal accident insurance policy, because it is going to be able to provide some income if there was disability, some weekly income, some small medical expenses. It is going to help you around this situation if you actually buy a medical insurance. Talk to them. They will help you out, and it is not expensive. I'll tell you, it is just about one shilling for every 1,000 that you get covered. Not expensive at all. If you have an employer scheme, well done. But always remember, it's like their furniture. If you left, you leave it behind. Let's look at this nice place that we have, that we live in. And we said all the good things, we bought the house, we have so many things in the house or even in our business. Now we know there's a risk of fire. And so we can do some fire contingencies, the fire hydrants, we can do the fire extinguisher, okay? We can try to do materials that's not involved in fire, but we can't rule out fire. As long as we have electricity and we have gas at home, we cannot be able to deal with that. Now, theft is a possibility. People can always come and break in and steal, and I know there are mechanisms to try and take care of that, cameras, you know, the dogs, the guards, and everything else that you're actually doing. Water, and we've seen how water can be very, very devastating. I bet there are people from South Sea here, and they know what water has done. And water is going to destroy everything. If you're in Nairobi based, you know Uke Center, and how many times water visited the supermarket. And water is very destructive. So the first thing in terms of risk management, don't build your house on a waterway. Water will always come back. But if you can, make sure there's a storm drain around where you are. So that becomes a big issue. Now, there are liabilities because you own a property. Think about them. You planted those nice trees we can see. If they fall on your neighbor's roof, you are liable for that. If their roots encroach your neighbor's house and they cause problem, you are liable for that. By the way, if you have servants, you have hired a house girl, and even if they don't come all the time, they are mamafua. There's a risk there. There's something called the Work Injury Benefits Act. If they got injured while working for you, you must take care of that. If they got sick while working for you, you must take care of that. If they actually died, God forbid, you will be required to pay to their relatives the salary you would have paid them for the next 8 years. That's a huge, huge liability. And as we talk about that liability, your dog can actually bite the Kenya Power guy when it comes to read your meter. That's a liability that you have. Your fundi, when they come to actually sort out your power, they can actually get electrocuted. That's a liability you have. And that is why you also got to think about acts of God, lightning. You know, we are happy that Kilimambogo doesn't look like it will behave like the mountain in Goma. Gong Hills are not volcanic, so that's not a problem. But this is not something that we can rule out. And that is why you want to think about insurance. Insurance for the property, insurance for the content, insurance for the things that you take away, insurance for the thing for your liabilities to third parties, to tenants, to your workers, all those things. For your house, it's called a domestic package. It carries all those things. For your business, they can actually structure for you, whether it is your cash in transit, whether it is your goods, all those, they can structure a very, very good plan for you. So I think we can see the risk and you can see how these professionals can help you. I know you love your car. It's a status symbol. When you drive into a place, people know you've come. It's some comfort, convenience. You move from point A to point B without all the issue about the social distance in public means. It's the first mechanism from point A to B. For some of us, it's the office. Everything is there. We operate from there. Okay. So it is very many things. But the car has bad manners also. It can actually injure other people. It can damage their property. It can even kill other people. And that's why government has decided, as long as you drive your car on a public road, you must have insurance so that if it injures another person, if it actually kills another person, the insurance will pay for you because that liability is there. So government has insisted on that. But the insurance companies have said that's not enough. Why don't we do this? We give you protection if the car kills somebody, if the car injures somebody, or if the car damages other people's property. That's what they call the third-party insurance. Okay, but you know your car is not covered if it was stolen in whole or in part. If the car burned, and that's why the insurance says we can even extend that to you. But you still see if the car gets material damage, it is not covered. So they actually say we now give you comprehensive injury to other people, death to other people's property, car theft, burning of the car damage, will cover that. And they actually even make it sweeter. They say if your car now is in the garage for repair, we'll give you a courtesy car. If your car got involved in an accident in Machakos, we tow it and we actually pay for your bills overnight. If you are kidnapped and you're taken to the ATM and you're forced to withdraw, will actually pay that for you. So that's why you need to work with an expert to see, are you protected, or will this car actually give you a liability that can wipe you out in everything that you own? Very, very important to think about that. And as we come to the end of the discussion, a third place that we must end is that we all come with this sign, an expiry date. As you are born, we have to exist. And because we have to exist, when it happens, it is obviously a very, very compound loss. There is emotional loss and there is financial loss. And so for the people who have believed, this is what they are suffering from. But, you know, we can help them with the emotional side, which takes a long time, maybe almost 3 years, for them to actually have the basis to actually say, now we might want to go without this person. This loss is very, very pronounced when it is the breadwinner who has left, because he lives with the bread, but he leaves us with the hunger. We still need provision, yet he has left. And you know, the lifestyle of your family is based on your CV. You build a lot of intellectual capital that has allowed you to earn a lot of money, and that's how you give them the quality of life. You send them to an expensive school, you live in an expensive estate, you got all these things that you're looking at, okay? So when the breadwinner is not there, the family has to look for income replacement. How do we replace this income? Because as a family, we are living on 200,000 shillings every month to pay all the things we need to do. Now, this breadwinner was bringing in 120,000. The other spouse is bringing in 60,000, and we have 20,000 that we get from our small business. Now we have the 20 from the business, we have the 60 from this other spouse, so we have 80. We have a shortfall of 120. What do we do? And you know, if we have no provisions, we are forced to sell the assets. And we sell them in a hurry, they'll be bought for a song, we lose them. Alternatively, we call guys for Arabe, we do a WhatsApp group and many WhatsApp groups. The problem is they will always disappoint. They will not raise the money we are looking for. And that is why we have to start thinking about readjustment. When we don't have that income, we have to readjust, but we can't readjust in one day. We can't just move house in one day. We can't move school in one day. We can't start working in one day. And that's why we need a readjustment fund. And that readjustment fund is what is designed as life insurance. Life insurance is income replacement. Life insurance is a readjustment fund. And so if you talk to Absa Life, if you talk to Zamara, and they have different types of policies that can actually help you to figure out this. And so buying life insurance is not an act of carelessness. It's an act of love and care. You care for the people. You don't want to leave them with a gap they're not going to feel for a season. They cannot feel it for life, but they can feel it for a season. So when you buy life, you create an immediate estate. You create protection. You actually safeguard your people. And when you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about what is adequate life insurance is what your dependents need to pay all their bills for a 3-year period. Because like I said, it takes a whole 3 years. And psychologists will tell you, it's a long process to go through bereavement and grief and acceptance. It takes a whole 3 years. And that's why if you look at the group life scheme your employer has, it is 3-year salary or 4-year salary. So you have to look at this. What is our expense per month? 200,000. How much money is not coming in? 120. So you multiply that 12, we multiply by 3, and then whatever number you get, that is what Zamara and Absa Life call the sum assured, the amount of protection that you can actually buy. And like I said, they have very many types of policies that they can actually sell to you. Term assurance just for protection, endowment, which is a combination of protection plus investment, which can be very ideal to pay school fees for the children, because if you are not there, their dreams will be varied, the fees will be paid, which is a very good form of augmenting your retirement. If you get to the end of the contract term, they give you the money, they will actually guide you to go and buy an annuity. So very, very important that we actually think about this. When you're leaving your family without any protection, you're leaving them exposed. In fact, the British wartime minister, Winston Churchill, said, if it was within his powers, every young man who marries a girl must buy insurance, because you've taken them from the protection of their parents and you've exposed them. And now, because we have equality, we've seen McKenna has also gotten a girl. I think I should also say every girl who gets married, you need to buy life insurance, because you're going to expose the guy. You got him away from his father and he's exposed. So think about this very, very important aspect of life. You can be able to do the computation. If what you have is not enough, you might want to add on something. And it comes with a lot of benefits, by the way. Government appreciates this. And you know what? For all the premiums you pay every month, 15% of that, you don't pay tax on it. When you get your money by the end of the day, government does not even tax it from you. So it comes with a lot of benefits. And when you work with Afterlife and Zamara, they will actually be able to do serious investments. So this is ideally not your best investment. It is an investment because it combines investment and protection. It is the best protection you can actually give your family because you love them. You love them. And because we know one day we'll go, we'll not be here, it is always good to arrange our things so that they can be ordered when we are gone. And that is why we have to think about estate planning, estate administration, writing the will, you know, organizing all those things, because if we don't do it, other people might take away everything that we have. And I know we don't have the time to look at that, but I know you have had, you have thought about it. If you actually want to get deeper into all these, we have a program that's called the Wealth Creation Masterclass. It's a 10 weeks online program where you can actually now come and know how do you effectively manage your income, manage your investments, what type of investments, how do you use debt to grow wealth, you know, how do you set and actualize your personal wealth. The next season is starting on the 13th of July. So you actually have good time. You can actually be able to join us. And I know you want to test where you are today. Take out this test, do this test, and it's going to tell you in terms of protecting yourself. Where are you? Answer the questions, be genuine to yourself. Just write it out, be genuine to yourself as you take the test, and you're going to find you might need to talk to Afterlife or you might need to talk to Zamara. Alternatively, you might need more information, so you might need to come to our running program so that you can actually be able to learn that. And I know as we get here, you seated on a question. Some of them you put them on chat. Some of them you asked before you came. I hope I've answered some of the ones you asked before you came. But I'll tell you, that is why Life and Zamara are here. They will answer your questions. The question is, how do you move forward? That's the one they will answer. If you need more information, they will answer that. They'll be able to answer that. As for me, I'll also be here just in case you have any question for me. I'll be happy to take the question. If you don't want to ask it today, that's my email. You can always give me a call. That's my number. You can call and somebody will answer you. That's our website. You can see what we do. I say, God bless you. Thank you very much. I know now you have everything you need to protect what you own. And what you don't have, Afterlife is here. Zamara are here. They will help you in that journey. I see Maureen is happy and ready to take us on from now, maybe to give us one more poll as we think about where we are, and then you can be able to run with it. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Maureen. I'll be here to take the questions if there are any for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Wahome. We are so glad for you taking us through that wonderful presentation. I know our panelists are here, and we have a number of questions which have trickled in. And maybe just a follow-up question for you, Mr. Wahome. Can you just speak to someone who is deep set in debt and they want to set themselves free from debt and stay free from debt? Can you say something to that person? They are already deep set in debt.
Yes, this is a journey. We call it getting out of the debt as done. Very, very simple. It's actually a 6-step process. I may not have the time to go into all the steps. The step number 1 is recognition. You recognize you're in debt and you admit you're in debt. Step number 2 is to ask yourself, what is putting me in debt? Is it my lifestyle? Am I living beyond my means? Am I getting into impulse buying? Am I getting trapped into money issues? And once you recognize that, step number 4, you actually say, so what resources, what debts do I have? And you actually write down all the debts. We call it debt counseling. You write down all the debts and we prioritize, which is the urgent ones. That one with an interest rate of 600% is the number 1 we need to pay. That one that gives you a lot of pressure, makes you wake up at night, we need to pay that. We look at the resources and we work out how we are going to pay. 2 methodologies of paying. You can do debt consolidation. Just borrow from one person, pay all the other guys, you're left with one person. Or you negotiate and ask for more time. And if you do that, the next other step is make sure you never get there. So and if somebody wants to get more information, they can get in touch. We can actually be able to do more detail in that. But I'm not saying keep away from bad debt. Always have good debt. Always have good debt. Yeah, thank you.
Well answered, Mr. Home. Thank you for that response. And I'd like to direct this question to Esther Moriti. We have someone who's asking, how should one prepare for retirement financially? And please address the viewer based on the fact that the retirement might just be around the corner. How can they prepare for retirement financially? Esther?
Thank you, Maureen, for that question. It's a very good question, especially in these times, COVID times, that have actually pushed us to look at our savings, and have also made us relook at our lifestyles in terms of what Wahome has just spoken to us about. But just to speak about savings in the final years of employment, as per your question, I would say that it's very important that we look at once the stage that we are at in our lives, and then now plan the expenditure on that basis. So it's very important that we realize that expenditure can actually rise during the last or the final years of employment on the basis of health, depending whether your health is deteriorating, the kind of lifestyle you've been keeping, have you been exercising, again, on the basis of education of the children. Hereby we assume that maybe the children are at a tertiary stage of their education, and so you're still paying school fees at university level. That can make the expenditure to rise, and your savings can also become a bit constrained. The other side, expenses can reduce, whereby you are not actively paying school fees or providing for basic needs for the children, meaning you have a higher capacity to save more. But in whichever stage of life, it is important to save for retirement. It's the best way, of course, is to begin in a pension environment, and that is what we would advise mostly. If you do not have one already, you can, of course, join a personal pension plan, or what we call individual pension plans, that you are the one who is in control. But if you're already enjoying one where your employer is actually contributing and you're contributing, then we, of course, now request you to look at complementing the employer's contribution by having additional voluntary contributions, what we commonly call ABC. So this will see your savings pot increase, and then you get ready for a better pension payout. A key note is to say that the general rule of the thumb is that the lesser the years you are to retirement, maybe you are at 45, then your AVCs have to increase. The amount you basically contribute has to be higher than somebody who is 25-year-old. But all in all, it is saying that retirement is wonderful if you have much to live on and much to live for.
Wonderful response. Thank you, Esther. I know our viewer is enlightened. And just a follow-up questions to whatever you've mentioned. What is your take on persons who have retired but don't have insurance? And most formally being employed. What's your take on that?
Very good one, Maureen. A very good question, especially for the employed, and I being one of them. And mostly to speak to the fact that we are very used to being taken care of by our employers, and we sort of forget to take up that duty of care that the employer had extended or graciously extended to us while in employment. I think Wahome has really tried to put it into perspective how crucial risk management is, and that insurance is one of the ways that you can actually manage risk. To say the least is that whether you're a sole proprietor, you are listening to us as a businessman, you're in private employment or a government employee, or most of all in the informal sector, which are the very core people who are holding our economy today. It's important to have some basic insurance policies, even at the point of retirement, when you are out of work and are out of the arms of your employer. So medical insurance is a key one. Life insurance, critical illness, and the worst of all that we have always put it as worst in terms of quote unquote, but it's the best policy to have, the last expense policy. That now we know that people no longer have social capital that can actually come together to raise funds for them, to just send them off with dignity. So it's very important to have those. But what else I've also noticed, especially with my experience in insurance, is that as people retire, they tend to purchase assets that actually run their businesses with their pension payouts. then they forget to take insurance for those assets. So you've started a small business and you use a certain asset, whether it's a vehicle, you put it on that party. That party will only cater for what the government requires, but it will not cater to reinstate you or indemnify you at the point of loss of that particular asset. So that means you will close down your business. If you had a small machine that you are using to actually run a business, and that machine, you don't insure it, when it is broken down, you cannot be able to get income from it. And if you had insurance, it can actually pay back that income that you are earning, or replace the particular equipment to get you back to running the business. So we are living in an era whereby small businesses owners need key man insurance. Key man meaning you are the key person. Without you, that business is not going to run. Without you, your family is actually being rendered to now suffering. Is that what we pray for in life? No. So we've come up with policies that actually address all these gaps that are there in the market. And my take would be that the owner should be sufficiently covered. And all of us are looking to retire and retire when we are very happy. So it's critical to note that most ignored assets during retirement are simply the things that we use every day: livestock insurance, domestic insurance, things that you can purchase for as low as 3,000 shillings annually, covering your house, your contacts, your domestic servants, and especially in these new times where people are retiring in urban areas, and the old style of urban to rural retirement migration has rapidly dwindled. So we see the risks that we are facing during employment are not different than the risks that we are facing during urban retirement. So I would say that insurance remains a key pillar of protecting what we have even after retirement. So my take is people should buy insurance. They can, of course, contact their different advisors in the market, Zamara being one of them, Absa Life being one of them, to advise them on what is they need to insure, how best to insure it, and how to make sure that it is actually catered in a way that is not overly protected or under-insured.
Yeah.
Over to you, Maureen.
Thank you, Esther. We also have a few questions with regards to education policies, and I'd like to direct this to Eric. How beneficial are education policies, and how can I use this vehicle to manage my risk and investments? And also, how can one use education policy other than for the obvious? Eric, maybe you can take that question.
Thanks, Maureen. I think one of the things about the education policy has been highlighted by Mr. Home when he says that it is a policy that gives you both protection and as well giving you an opportunity to put aside money that is going to grow for you. So in terms of the importance, of course, the basic one is that you're saving for the future cost of education of your children. We have seen a rising cost in education. And in this country, we have placed education quite highly and give it quite a high regard and priority. And parents will go to every extreme to ensure that their children go to good schools and pay for it. So rather than wait for when your child is called to university, you may as well start when the child is 2 years old or 1 year old, or even just a newborn. Or if you don't have a child, you may as well start by investing, knowing at one point I will have this as an expense. And the beauty about it is it will allow you to save this money on either a monthly basis or an annual basis, building up a fund. By the time the expense is needed, you already have sufficient amount of money to pay for that education. One of the other benefits, and especially aligned toward the product that we have as well, is that we have catered for inflation in how you manage your cost at a later stage. So you have the option of escalating your premium, which gives you protection against the cost of money in the future, as well as increasing your sum assured as a similar rate. Thereby, you're increasing your risk element. So one is assured that the cost of, or rather the value of the amount of money you have today will not be depleted by inflation at a later stage. You will have that secured, and that gives you a good basis for investing in education policy. In terms of its uses, The big plus about it is that we will not require you to give us a school invoice so that we can pay to that school. Rather, this is money that will come to you as a policy holder, and you're at liberty on how you will use this maturity benefits or proceeds from the investment or from your policy. So the thing is that you have the leeway that it does not only go to paying school fees, but if there's an additional, which most cases there will be, you can use this as well for any other need that you'll have at that point. And if you're well solutioned, like the 1% who said they were adequately prepared for any financial people later, they can easily use that money as capital or seed capital to start a business. So it doesn't limit you only to paying school fees, but you can go ahead and use these proceeds as you wish, by virtue that this money will come back to you as a policy holder. Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you, Eric. Just to follow up on that, is there a product that gives the benefits of education policy and growth of the committed funds?
Most endowment products will give you that, whether termed as an education policy or any other name that you will give. So you'll have the benefit that your funds or your premiums that will be paying on a monthly basis or annual basis will be growing as you put aside the money. One of the advantages or one of the measures that have been put in place and also regulated by IRA is to ensure that your fund or your premium you're paying does not get depleted through adverse investments. So the investment or the funds where these monies will be put in is advised and regulated to ensure that at a later stage, the policyholder is not going to lose, but rather they will get a return on the money that they have put aside. So besides the education policy, any endowment that the member or the policyholder or the client gets into will give you the same benefit, that you will grow your funds as well as get protection against any risk of death or disability when you run in the policy.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. Allow me to direct some questions to you, Mr. Wahome. We have a listener who's asking, is good debt capable of turning into bad debt? And does one have the ability to convert a bad debt into a good debt? And while you're answering that, maybe you can also address someone who's asking, speak to someone who's actually, sorry about that. Someone who's asking, what are the financial health checks one could carry out to ensure they are sound financially? Maybe you can lump your responses on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we clearly defined what's good debt, what's bad debt. Okay.
Yeah.
And we say it's good debt if wherever you're putting it, the asset is appreciating or is creating potential for future. Can it turn into a bad debt? Yes, it can if you change the use. Yes, you bought your taxi to expand your business, but now you decided this is your car for holiday. Now that you've diverted the use. And so it's gone into consumption from being into investment. Can a bad debt turn into a good debt? Most likely no. Most likely no. Because if you look at the way bad debt is consumption, it's unlikely that you can turn it into a good debt. And that's why I say complete the repayment, get out of the debtors then. So somebody is wondering, I say don't borrow your own money. And this is a very common, very Kenyan thing. We always want to save $500,000 in the circle, 1 million in the circle, but you're always going there to borrow 100 for fees. You're actually borrowing your own money, but who are you paying the interest? You're paying your interest to others. And why is that happening? Because you're borrowing your own money for consumption. As we said, you need to have your contingency fund to address those things that cause you to borrow in a hurry, so that now you can leave your money in the circle. So when you borrow from the circle, you borrow your money and other people's money, you go into project. It becomes an investment thing. So it becomes very necessary. Are there tests I can do? Yes, there are a couple of professional tests you can do. The one we shared is one of them, where you can actually tell your financial wellness status. On the internet, you can actually get financial charts that will actually help you to access. But you need to be very honest in answering the questions. A lot of people make answers of what they would wish to be other than what there is. The beauty with finances, it's all numbers, and numbers don't lie. They tell you the truth as it is. So if you don't have the savings for your daughter, and your daughter is in Form 3 and college is 2 years, you scratch your head. You know, you'd rather listen to Eric now when they are 2 years and wait for that time. You know, Esther has told us about retirement. You turn 55 and you actually don't have a house. You're going to be bothering Esther to actually help you in the new arrangement where you can access part of your pension fund to buy a house. You deplete your pension money. So you might be a homeowner and you have no money to live in the house. So you don't have the money even to pay the bills. And this is where planning is. That's why there's a big gratitude for financial literacy. You learn, you know, you increase your financial intelligence, the ability to deal with money so that you can actually easily deal with those issues. Thank you.
Wonderful, Wahome. Just allow me to ask you this, but how can one balance their debts and their investments?
Okay, I think that's very easy. If you're looking at your good debts, your bad debts, I say just set yourself, depending on where you are in life, set yourself a debt to repayment ratio. And I think you've had this thing in Parliament. It's called a debt ceiling. That's what the government calls it. But at personal level, we call it a ratio. And the most advisable is don't exceed 35% of your income for debt repayment. Because now if you're exceeding 35% and maybe you're using another 40% to sustain your lifestyle, then you really don't even have money for saving. So that's where the balance is. The only time you breach the 35% is if you're paying a mortgage. Because when you're paying a mortgage, there are two components. One is interest, the other is capital principal repayment. The principal repayment is always an investment because you're owning the property you're buying. Thank you. Thank you, Maureen.
Wow. Wow, Wahome, thank you so much. Just two final questions for Esther and Eric. Esther, this is to you. Someone is asking, how can we assist them after retirement to take care of their health?
A very good one, Maureen. Critical that we now know health is wealth, and Wahome has really tackled that part of bringing out the aspect of taking care of our health, making sure our lifestyle is speaking to what we want to see in the future. And with that, of course, we have to back it up with insurance. And we've already talked about NHIF as one of our key insurance card that we need to have. Make sure you're paying it. Even when you are retired, make sure you're paying for that card. Of course, you can complement the insurance part, the NHIF part with a private medical card. But very important to note, and why we are saying that the private part will come in, is that age is inversely correlated to health. As your body starts to age, of course, they start failing. Our bodies start to fail us. And it is important that we basically look at life as part of, age as part of what we have to see. And we have been told we have a sticker of an expiry date. So it's good that we cater for that time when it comes. I would say that inpatient is a must-have. Whether you don't want to buy everything, at least have your NHIF and have a complementary inpatient cover, because it covers for the catastrophic risk of hospitalization, especially accidental injuries. And again, I'll cater and I'll talk more on age-related medical insurance. When you're 60 and above, and you're assuming that now you've left employment, you've gone to retire, especially in the rural areas, and you're less risky, but you've gone into farming, you have a big shamba, you're walking, you can easily slide and you get into an accident. All that will require somebody to come in to basically help you with a bill. You have got what we can never run away from: acute illnesses, pneumonia, malaria, diarrhea, things that we never actually really look at. Those ailments we think of less today are the ones who actually that tick off the age at 60, 65, 70. They'll send you to hospital for a whole week. But today, if they send you to hospital, 2 days you're out. At that age, 1 week and above, who will fundraise for you? Your social capital is gone. They are also retired. The children are busy. They're catching up with their lifestyles. So only an insurance medical card can actually respond to your medical bills. It's very important to know that actually RBA, which is the retirement Benefit Authority has made an effort to promote uptake of post-retirement medical schemes, basically encouraging people to save before their retirement and to separate their retirement pot and the medical pot to be a bit different. So that way you are able to ensure that you are able to buy a medical cover that can cater for you after retirement. We have products that are able to onboard members that are 60 all the way to 80 years, and that will be able to help you to keep your life balanced. And it will not have the exclusions that people would say, or penalties that would say would be imposed on somebody based on the conditions they present themselves with. We look at all those things and we ensure we advise you correctly. We're also looking at developing affordable medical plans that are customized to fit various needs, especially telemedicine, taking advantage of technology to give you a doctor on the call in the comfort of your house, even at age 60, at age 80. Technology is going to be here to help all of us. So we are sure that even at age 90, we are going to be able to take care of you. So please ensure you have your medical insurance at hand. Ensure your NHIF card is fully paid for. It's very important, and it's good that we support the government call in ensuring that we actually are able to cater for all our medical needs from the onset with the government and all the way to the private sector. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Esther. We have an anonymous attendee was asked, on this education policy, we have had cases where one takes a policy which will mature, let's say in 10 years. Then along the way, say in 6 or 7 years, they lose their source of income or have difficulties financing the policy. What happens with the money already saved up to this point? Eric, maybe you can close that. Then we can wind up our Q&A session.
Thanks, Maureen. One of the guarantees that an education policy, or basically an enrollment cover, guarantees the policy holder is that they should not lose the premiums or the amounts they have paid. And this is something that has been regulated as well from the Insurance Regulatory Authority. A clause referred to as non-forfeiture of premiums. Now, what this means is that if you are at a place where you are unable to continue with your monthly or annual payment of premiums, you have a couple of options that will guarantee that you get some payouts or some money paid. The first option is that you can surrender your policy. So this means that you will just lodge in a claim and inform the underwriter or the insurance company that you're unable to continue paying your premium. And so they will cancel the policy and you will receive what is referred to as a surrender amount. Now, the surrender amount usually is lower than what you had been guaranteed or what you had been assured at the point of the policy maturity, because by this point, you have not run the policy to the end. Okay, so that's the first option that you have. A second option that the client has is to take your policy to what we refer to as paid up status. In other words, that you stop paying your premiums, but the policy continues on the basis of the accumulated premiums that you've contributed up to that point, becoming the sum assured. So the policy will continue without you having to pay any more premiums. And at the point where the policy was to mature, whatever investment amount or bonus or interest it has earned will be part and parcel of the payout plus the premiums that you've contributed up to the point where the policy was stopped or you stopped paying the premiums. So in most cases, it's a lack of, I would say, full disclosure and knowledge on the part of also the policyholder on how they can handle their policy at the point when they are not able to pay or they want to stop paying for one reason or another, but also the knowledge that should have been passed to them at the point of purchase and even education. And that's why such forums become quite imperative and important for education purposes and for knowledge. So those are the options that are available to the policyholder. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. Our viewers, we have some pending questions. If any, we will be sure to address them. We also had received some questions before this webinar, so we will be sure to address each and every question that may be pending. And even as we come to the close of this session, we'd like to continue with this conversation and make it more personal. And that said, I'll ask our Zamara admin to just put on screen our retail email address and even on our chat window so that we can engage further and help you protect what you have. Let's talk about this, right? And before we go, before you actually leave, there will be a short survey that will take a few seconds for you to respond. And because we value your feedback, we'd like you to respond because we are keen on making our experience with you better and better every time we engage, right? We had some few prizes for our viewers today. So maybe Zamara, admin, would you like to run the lottery? Five lucky winners. And even as our Zamara admin is taking care of this, would like to hear what are your key takeaways? What will you remember after this? Audience, feel free. We'd love to hear what that is. What will you remember? What will you take to heart? Right? And I'll request our distinguished panelists, please, maybe you can prepare just one-liners to end our session. But Zamara admin is telling us who has won. 5 key persons. Right. Samuel. Samuel Lodge. Congratulations, Samuel. Frederick Ochieng, congratulations. Congratulations. Maurice Giroux, congratulations. Does this wheel have a bias for males? Some females, please. Faith Kyoko, congratulations. At least a female. Congratulations, Faith. And finally, we have Anne Odinga. Congratulations, our winners for today. We will be getting in touch with you. So ensure to give us your contact if you had not. Yeah, so basically that's that. And we are so happy. So maybe Mr. Ome, one last word from you, Esther and Eric, in that order.
Okay, thank you for coming, for participating. We appreciate you. It is your money, it is your sweat. You've worked very hard. Please protect it. If it requires more knowledge, more education, get in touch with us. If you require action, just talk to Zamara, talk to the Absa Life. Don't let this weekend go without action. Take the minimum action you can.
Wonderful.
Think big, start small, start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ome.
Fantastic. I wouldn't end it in a better way than just to say that risk is inevitable. We have to accept the risks when the benefits outweigh that actual risk and the cost of it. But most of all, let us plan, manage it well, and ensure that we are well protected and not to borrow what that is our own. I think Wahome has said it so well. We are all fond of circles, and we are not saying it in bad faith, but at least I have learned something as well. Thank you, Wahome.
Eric?
Right. There's the adage of, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, have someone to tag along with you. It's quite comforting to see a powerhouse between Zamara and Absa Life by virtue of their leadership in the industry where financial advice is concerned. We are happy to ensure that whatever we have learned today from our able speaker, Mr. Wahome, we can now make it practical by solutioning you with what we have and ensuring and guaranteeing that this shall lead to a point where you're protecting what you have. So looking forward to more engagement. Thank you so much for putting this together, and we look forward to having more of this. Thank you.
Wonderful remarks. Thank you, our panelists. So lastly, for those who would like to rewatch this or maybe missed any bit of our session, I'd like to let you know that we will be sharing this next week, a recording of a webinar next week. So remember to also subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media platforms to access more insightful content. I don't think there's anything I'd like to add, but to just say a sincere thank you to our distinguished panelists and a big thank you to you, our audience, for your full attention, your precious time, and your continued patronage. We hope to do this again, but till then, please stay safe and keep well. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.